recreational. He's getting something out of it.
Essential vitamins and nutrients?
What's his story?
Property of Armacam Technology Corporation. They're working on a military contract to develop an army of clones that respond to a psychic commander. Top secret, of course. F.E.A.R is one of the commanders.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. This is why nobody takes us seriously. Military clones?
A full battalion of them. Highly trained and heavily armed.
A battalion? What are we supposed to do against 1,000 super soldiers?
Oh wow, what can I say about F.E.A.R that can't also be said about S.H.I.E.L.D., other than they both really want their respective acronyms? To be fair, the FBI can fuck off. If you get one of those chuckle fucks at your door, you can bolt fair and square, but if you're standing face to face with a man with fear emblazoned on his bulletproof vest, I defy you to run. That said, I've owned F.E.A.R for a little while now, and I'll be perfectly honest, I hadn't played much of it as I was balls deep in uni work at the time. And on that subject, future Althan will actually do a follow-up to the video titled A Few Quick Tips for University. I have a few things to say about that video, and some honest self-reflection that I've accrued since I've been at uni. Back to the review, I hear you cry, and I cry back, I'm getting to it, shitbird. So, balls deep in uni work, I was. And the last module of my first semester was around games technologies, which encompassed the likes of physics simulation, AI, networking, and a few other concepts that rounded off a first semester's work of essentially building a game engine or a tech demo from scratch with C++. I mentioned this, and bear with me, because my lecturer brought up F.E.A.R when we covered AI. Now, consider for a beat that F.E.A.R came out in the relative stone age of gaming known as 2005. I was fucking 10 years old at that time. Jesus, I'm old. So what's so special about F.E.A.R? Well, as it stands, the AI in F.E.A.R is some of the best AI to be employed in a video game to date, and I say that knowing full well the implications that drags along with it. The enemies in the game will communicate to each other, from fluff dialogue before combat to flashlight if they see your light but not you. And now we get to the beautiful part. They flank, they provide covering fire for their teammates, they communicate like a squad of highly trained combatants would. They throw grenades and try and outplay you. But on higher difficulties, that can provide a razor blade in your toilet paper. But as it stands, F.E.A.R goes down in history as one of the finest examples of first-person shooting horror of all time. Of all time! So, you start with some expository shit, setting the stage for what later become the worst day in the F.E.A.R operative's life ever! So, before you know it, you're entering an abandoned apartment complex with your partner, a veteran F.E.A.R operative. Turns out, Psychic Commander Paxton Fettel is a cannibalic psychic soldier commando man with an army of psychic commandos that, look, to be fair, explaining this plot makes it sound a little far-fetched, but it is actually fucking solid. So, we've set up the bad guy, Paxton Fettel, classic name, and his army of psychic clone soldiers. I think they're called the Replica Militia, I'm not sure, but still. So, gun in hand, we explore, only to be twatted by good old Paxy with a wooden board, and he waxes on about something and then promptly fucks off. After being babbled at by a nutter who eats people, you regroup with your fellow F.E.A.R operatives and then fade to black. So, MP5 in hand, we board a Delta Force Black Hawk ready to...
Medal of Honor, Doorfighter, kicking down doors wherever we go.
And quite oddly enough, the Deltas find it pertinent to insult you for your affiliation with F.E.A.R, getting you to, get the door and do some, they just insult you. And then, as soon as you get the door, their asses get liquefied by a little psychic girl within seconds. From the outset, F.E.A.R has that edgy quality about it. Not the Count Dankula edgy, as hilarious as that would have been, but no, the kind of quality that puts you on edge from the second you jump into it and for several hours after you stop playing it. The sound design is fucking sublime. And I've already harped on about the AI for a biblical amount of time anyway, so I'll continue with the appraisal of the story. What follows is a several hours long journey of the point man absolutely shredding anything in his way, from Paxton soldiers to the Armacam mercenaries later in the game, to even robots and demon friends of this psychic little girl. The story takes you from dockside warehouses where you start to high-rise corporate HQs and offices and beyond, where for the most part you play up to the trope of Murphy's Law on meth. And if it can go wrong, it already has. And if it has, it's only going to get worse. Especially because at seemingly random intervals, the player will suffer violent blood-soaked hallucinations of hospital corridors and a crying woman, accompanied by the psychic little girl that we've all known to loathe. I was reminded of Nightmare House 2, the mod for Half-Life 2, which I vividly remember having a lot of similarities to F.E.A.R, but I digress. Anyway, so, as far as the story goes, serviceable tale of F.E.A.R, the Special Forces-esque unit dedicated to the paranormal and what have you, and it's alluded that it's ridiculed by other Special Forces units, namely Delta at the beginning, and as the story goes on, you start to get right into the point man as a character. I mean, he's obviously a blank slate, but with his heightened reflexes and slow mobility, you know there's some form of twist coming. F.E.A.R, despite its age, is one of the finest shooters I've played in a long time. The AI was challenging, and I could rarely pull the same tactic twice. Except for that one tactic of find a shotgun and mash the fire button until there's more red mist on display than through the sniper scope of Chris fucking Kyle. On that note, weapons. My first playthrough was a little rough at the start. I had to get a feel for them, and I often took it slow and methodical with the pistol, which I instantly recognised as being modelled from the HK USP-45, a gun which I have nothing but eternal love for. I regularly missed many shots with the MP5, being the type of douchebag I am who plays Recon in Battlefield and often conserves ammo like I was a doomsday prepper. I found it hard to get into the run and gun style that was so popular of the day. So, after a rocky few levels of almost dying, I was well within the zone, tastefully popping my slow-mo cherry, with dual USPs raised in defiant protests to the squad of replica commandos that are trying to outflank and outshoot my ass. The shotgun in particular I grew to love. The ubiquitous Spas 12, I think it was called the VK12 if I remember, fires like Satan slamming his fucking trunk and has roughly the same effect. Oftentimes I'd run into the fray, slow-mo stiffy erect, and would suddenly be surprised at how visceral the combat can be. There have been severed limbs from shotgun blasts, torsos separated from the bottom half of their bodies, and more than a few occasions I hit some sort of dark matter button wherein the enemy I shot literally turned into a cloud of red mist and chunks of flesh. So, before I wrap this review up, one final note. Norton Mapes can fuck himself. The only downside to this game, which stops it from being a perfect review, is that once you finally find that fat fuck after tracking him down by the fucking Cheeto packs and cans of energy drinks, that he leaves like a snail trail of cholesterol as I can't put a 45 caliber bullet straight between his flabby jowls and execute him for the many times he's tried to kill me, the smug cunt. F.E.A.R. First Encounter, Assault and Recon, a game which I have come to classify as a Shawshank. Everyone's seen the Shawshank Redemption, and to a point everyone should see it. And this game is no exception. A classic, despite age, and it supports 1920 by 1080 screen resolution. That should not be left out. Play it, enrich your lives. I'm Althan, I'll see you next time.